Elliot had never been much of a reader, let alone a believer. To him, faith was just an elaborate crutch, and books like the Bible belonged in dusty church pews, not in his hands. But desperate times made him take odd jobs, and reading to Miss Clara, the blind widow who lived down the street, was as odd as they came. "You don't have to believe in it," Miss Clara had said when he reluctantly agreed. "Just read it. I'll take care of the rest." Her apartment smelled of lavender and lemons, and every surface seemed to shine, except for the armchair where she sat, worn smooth by time. Elliot sat across from her, the hefty Bible on his lap feeling like an anchor. "Start at Genesis," Clara instructed. Her voice was soft but resolute, like she could see right through him despite her milky eyes. He read with little emotion, stumbling over names and phrases that seemed archaic and strange. At first, the words were just sounds. But the longer he read, the more something in the cadence of the passages began to stir him. Clara's murmured amens punctuated his reading, and her serene expression made him wonder what she saw in the darkness behind her closed eyelids. Days turned into weeks. Genesis gave way to Exodus, Psalms, and the parables of the New Testament. Elliot began to find himself lingering over certain passages, feeling the weight of their meaning. He noticed changes in himself, too. The short temper he was known for began to ease. He'd catch himself humming hymns he didn't even realize he'd memorized. "Why do you listen to this every day?" he asked Clara one afternoon, closing the Bible after finishing the Sermon on the Mount. "Because it reminds me of who I am," she said simply. "And sometimes it reminds others too." Elliot didn't ask what she meant, but the question followed him home. In the stillness of his own apartment, he began to hear echoes of the words he'd read. Passages about forgiveness, about love that sought no reward, about second chances. One day, Clara handed him her old, leather-bound Bible. "Take it," she said, her smile warm. "I think you're ready to see for yourself now." And he did. For the first time, Elliot opened the Bible not as a chore, but as a guide. The transformation that had started so subtly was now undeniable. The bitterness he'd carried for years softened, replaced by a quiet kind of hope. When Clara passed away a few months later, Elliot stood at her graveside, clutching her Bible in his hands. He realized that reading to her had been less about her blindness and more about his own. She had seen the light all along. Now, so could he.